Okay, so to make your stretchy bars, you need 2x1. I buy it at 8 feet. You also need the 1/4 round molding. It comes in half an inch or I think 11/16 of an inch. I buy the half inch. It's a little bit, it's a little bit thicker. So you don't have to, you won't risk the molding separating from the 2x1. You also need a hammer, you need wood glue, finishing nails, wood screws. I like to use 2.5 inch to 3 inch ones, so you can get real deep into the wood as you assemble them at the corners of the stretcher bars. That way so they won't separate. You need blue painter's tape or a cheap masking tape. A power drill works really well, a pencil, and you also need a saw. I have a miter saw, so luckily it only takes an instant for me to, or a couple of seconds for me to cut the stretcher bars at 45 degrees. Okay, to make your stretcher bars, you need 2x1. I buy it at 8 feet. You need 1/4 round molding. I buy it at half inch. It also comes at 11/16. Either's fine. You need a hammer. You need wood glue, finishing nails, also known as brad nails, sandpaper, wood screws, blue painter's tape, or any cheap masking tape. A power drill, a pencil always works great as well, just to take your measurements, and a ruler. And you also need a saw. I have a miter saw, so I can cut these in just a couple seconds. It's phenomenal to have a miter saw. But a hand saw works fine too. Okay, so when we attach the 1/4 round molding to the 2x1, what we ultimately get is this right here. And this is just a little piece of the 2x1 stretcher bars that I make. The way it works is we take the 1/4 round molding and we glue it to the outside of the 2x1, and this creates the stretcher bar essentially. This will be the inside of your canvas, and you will staple out of the sides of the back. When you pull it over, it is obviously wider. I would say it's probably more like a medium duty or heavy duty stretcher bar. But framing is very easy to do with this. Obviously, you have to buy the wider mounting brackets wherever they are, the frame brackets. But this is ultimately what it looks like. I always put nails in here just to give it a little bit more strength with the wood, so the molding and the 2x1 are properly secure, and that's how ultimately it looks. Very simple, very easy to make, very cheap. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is that these 2x1s, they have a lot of splinters on them, so I'm gonna just sand these down real quick, and after that I will glue the 1/4 round molding. Okay, so now that the 2x1 is sanded down, now I'm gonna glue the 1/4 round molding to the actual 2x1. And pretty simple. I just put the wood glue on the outside the edge where I want to glue it. It doesn't have to be perfect, believe me. You can swipe it off. And yeah, it probably gets pretty flat. I'll do this. Okay, and what we're going to do is that we have, so 1/4 round molding has two straight edges, two straight side edges and a curved edge. I'm gonna put the straight edge on the outside and the curved edge on the inside, like so. And yes, wood glue is going to get everywhere. And sometimes these cut-around moldings are a bit warped, but it's fine. Because that's where the tape comes in. And what we're going to do is that the tape acts like almost like a strap. It'll hold it down, because I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap bits of tape like every few, I don't know, 8, 10 inches a foot, and it'll properly ensure that the glue bonds to both strips of wood. This is the easy part. Let's see. Just want to make sure everything's straight before I do this. Okay. The way I do it is I usually just start from the outside. Let's see. And yeah, there's some good excess of glue. It usually always is, but you can usually just wipe it off later. Usually my first bits of tape are, it's like at the ends and one in the center, and then I put more as I go out. Just makes sense. Where the molding is bowing, I sort of do it the opposite way, so I can tell it's like going like this. So I'm gonna do this right here, putting the tape on the inside first, and then wrapping it around so it pushes the molding against the outside of the wood of the 2x1. So. This one is like so. I doubt I know 3 strips of tape are not enough to hold it. So now I'm gonna do. It is probably just do one every foot or so. Just to ensure it, probably bonds. I am obviously taping it fairly tightly just to make sure it it won't come undone. test that. And I'll let this dry for 20, 30 minutes. I usually wait like an hour. I mean, sometimes I do it the night before. But yeah, I mean, usually an hour is good enough. The last thing I'm gonna do actually, I'm gonna let this dry first, but I'll come back and just to make sure that the stretcher bar is properly secure, I'll nail in a few nails every 8, 10 inches, however far, just to give that for the strength. Because I mean, we'll do it strong in its own right, but better safe than sorry. And I'm just gonna wipe off this glue. Okay, so the stretcher bars, I let them dry overnight, and the tape, as I mentioned before, is acts like a strap, so it holds it down, or holds the molding and the 2x1 together and makes the glue bond to each other. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna drill in a few holes every several inches and nail in some nails, just to make sure they are properly nailed together, essentially, just to create a little more strength in the stretcher bars, just for added security. So I'm probably doing this about every, I don't know, 8, 10, maybe a foot, but I mean not. And when I do this, I avoid putting the nail directly the very end because I love to cut at a 45-degree angle. And I'm gonna screw put some screws in to actually make the stretcher bar frame. And putting a nail there, it just creates more of a hassle. So I usually give myself a few inches. Okay, the stretcher bars are built, and I'm building a 48 by 36, so 4 foot by 3 foot stretcher bar canvas. These guys are 8 feet, so I'll definitely have a little bit of space or a little bit left over to work with. So the next step is measuring and cutting. Okay, I got the stretcher bars on my miter saw, and now it's time to cut. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to set this to 45 degrees. And cut. I've already made a mark. Yep, there it is. And back to the other 45. So I've got a scrap of wood here. I can use this to make sure I do have a proper 45. Okay, so I got a 148 and a 36 already cut. So now I'm gonna do the next ones, but the second ones I'm not going to use a ruler. I was taught that if you want to get a better cut, you want to put a previous cut of the same size right on top of it and put a line where you're cutting. If you did a ruler, you would probably end up making a pretty big mistake. Okay, the stretcher bars are cut, and now I'm assemble them. And I have this little, I think called like a frame mounting bracket. It's meant for right corners. I use it for frame up. I mean, these are building my stretcher bars. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my drill and I'm gonna drill into the wood so I can screw it in later. I don't want to risk splitting the wood, so that's why I'm doing this first. Okay, so I built the stretcher bars. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build cross braces. I'm gonna make 2 cross braces that will join in the center, just for further strength. I might even add in some, I call them like corner braces. So it'll have almost like a diamond on the inside, and that will create even more strength. I want to make sure it's as structurally sound as I can get it. So this is a piece of 2x1 that I have laying around. I've already measured it, cut off at 47.5 inches. That way it's not the exact full length of the 4-foot stretchers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my miter saw and I'm going to I have a little, I think it's called stopper on mine. And what it does is it'll essentially stop the saw blade from going too deep. And the way I'm gonna do this is that I will pull the saw out and I'm gonna glide through the wood. This way so I get a nice straight edge because the circular saw is, well, circular. So if I did not do that, I would get a curve instead of a straight line. Okay, so today's the last day of building the stretcher bars, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a stain on the stretcher bars. This will ensure, or it'll protect the wood for its lifespan, and whether that's 20 years or 200 years, whatever. We often don't think about sealing the wood when we make our own or when we're stretching our own canvases or building our own stretcher bars, really. And it's a shame because we often forget that, or most of us don't even know that the wood on the stretcher bars can eventually be infested with bugs like termites and whatnot, and that can cause significant damage to the paintings themselves. We always think about putting a varnish on the canvas. Well, we also need to put essentially a varnish on the stretcher bars themselves, just to ensure that it'll last longer throughout its lifespan, or throughout the history of the painting. This isn't really a requirement. I do it from more of an aesthetic point of view. I love the color of the stain, and it just kind of adds that, just another touch for like my paintings. Even though most people won't see it, it just adds a nice aesthetic effect. Okay, so here is the finished product of building the stretcher bars. This was taking the drying for a couple hours. I will let them dry overnight at least before I actually stretch the canvas over it. But yeah, they turned out great. Very simple, very easy to do. You can save a good bit of money for it. So yeah, if y'all have any questions, feel free to ask me at school or put a comment on the YouTube page or Instagram. I'll more than happy to answer whatever I can for y'all. But yeah, thanks guys.